Cranberry Easter, written and illustrated by Wendy and Harry Devlin, published by Aladdin Paperbacks. Copyright 1990. Hi, boys and girls. My next story is Cranberry Easter, and this is really for the second graders, but it's okay if you guys want to listen to it too. But the second graders, I read the Cranberry books, and their favorite character is old Mr. Wiskers. He's an old sea captain that's retired now, and he lives in a little cottage by the ocean. His next door neighbor is Grandma and her granddaughter Maggie. And Maggie is one of Mr. Wiskers' best friends. They solve lots of mysteries together. Now, Mr. Wiskers does have another good friend, a guy about his own age, that his name is Seth, and he runs the general store in the town of Cranberry Port. Well, this year it's about Easter, almost Easter time, and Seth is very, very sad. He's not doing very well. He's very sad because, well, he had a loss in his life. Someone he loved very much passed away. And so he's kind of depressed. And Mr. Wiskers, well, he wants to help his friend Seth so that he'll feel better. So second grade, here is the story for Easter. Cranberry Easter. Hope you like it. Look, spring is here. Mr. Wiskers stood at the door of Seth's general store with a mass of pussy willows in his arms. I've come to plan your Easter egg hunt, Seth, he said. You dye the eggs this year, and I'll play the Easter Bunny. Seth frowned. No Easter egg hunt this year. I'm gonna sell this store and head south. I'll be gone by Easter time. What? Sell the store? Mr. Wiskers could not believe his ears. Suffering codfish, Seth. Who's gonna sell me my nightshirts and my long underwear? Who am I gonna beat at checkers on Saturday nights? Well, it won't be me. Seth shook his head. Nobody really needs me. Nobody cares. I'm all alone in this big place. I'm ready to say goodbye to Cranberry Port. Now, you see, this had been a long, lonely winter for Seth. His wife had died in late summer, and he missed the sound of a voice at night. Mr. Wiskers wished he could cheer him, but he couldn't think of a thing to say. And I'm tired of all the gray skies, said Seth. He waved goodbye to Mr. Wiskers, banged the door shut, and went off to take a nap in the back of the store. Mr. Wiskers stopped at Grandmother and Maggie's house to share his news. Why, I'm upset too, said Grandmother, bustling about, making hot chocolate. My friends, Nan and Grandma Gates, they have both decided they can't last another snowbound winter alone on their farms. They need rooms in town, but there are none to be found. I have an idea, Grandmother, Maggie cried. The rooms over Seth's general store. It used to be a hotel. Wouldn't they be just right for your friends? Mr. Wiskers looked at Maggie in wonder. You got it, Maggie, he boomed. They are filled with old furniture. We'll get Seth to clear 'em out. Grandmother, she gave Maggie a delighted smile. I'll start with some phone calls, she said, and she hurried down the hall to the phone. Overjoyed, Mr. Wiskers hastened back to Seth's general store. But Seth, he turned his back on the whole idea. Never, he grumbled. I'm much too tired to clean up all those rooms. Mr. Wiskers, though, would not give up. Suffering codfish, Seth. These old folks are all alone. Somebody's got to help. They need you. And he paced back and forth. Well, said Seth, it's a jumble upstairs, but maybe we can go take a look. Now, did you hear what Mr. Wiskers did? Seth was complaining earlier that nobody needed him. So he made sure he said, those old folks need you. Well, from then on, Mr. Wiskers, he just took charge. After the sale of extra chairs and tables, there was enough money to buy paint and brushes. Even the mayor and the sheriff, they joined in the scrubbing, painting, and polishing. Maggie and her friends cleaned windows, and grandmother sewed curtains. The rooms were bright and clean. They were a joyous surprise when Mr. Wiskers, Maggie, and grandmother showed them to the new residence. Grandma Gates was especially pleased. Oh, I'll never have to go out in a storm for groceries again, she said with great cheer. Now, you do know why she doesn't have to go outside to get groceries. Because the general store is right downstairs. She can, if the weather's bad, she can just go downstairs anytime she wants to buy her groceries. Nan looked out the window onto the town square. Oh, Seth, we can watch the Easter egg hunt from up here, she said. Well, that's when Seth threw up his hands. Okay, you win, he told Mr. Wiskers. I guess I'll have to stay in Cranberry Port a little longer. Maggie, you tell the children at school the Easter egg hunt is on for sure. Well, the trees, they began to bud, and soon there was a magical green mist all over the land. At the general store, Seth found himself listening now and then for the bustling sounds from overhead. On Easter Eve, Grandma Gates even helped Seth dye the eggs. Easter dawned with a brilliant sun in Cranberry Port. Early in the day, Seth and Mr. Wiskers, they began to hide eggs of every hue, orange, yellow, violet, behind bushes, trees, under rocks, out in the village green. Seth felt a small stir of happiness at being part of this Easter celebration. Oh, look at the blue skies today, he said thoughtfully to Mr. Wiskers. Well, at noon, a crowd of happy, noisy children began to gather in the center of the village. Mr. Wiskers rounded them up and readied them for the hunt. He called, 1, 2, 3, go! The Easter egg hunt was on. Children darted among rocks and bushes in search of eggs. They knew that one prize, a large chocolate egg wrapped in gold, awaited the child who found the most. When nearly all the eggs had been discovered, Seth searched out Mr. Wiskers and, well, he whispered a message into his ear. Mr. Wiskers' eyes rolled and he groaned. Oh, you promised, said Seth as he steered his friend towards the store. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what he promised at the beginning of the story, but when he came and said he would help plan the Easter egg hunt, he did promise to do something. A few moments later, a big, fat Easter bunny hopped across the square. The shouting children swarmed all around him. "What is it?" asked a small boy, pulling on the bunny's tail. "Suffering codfish! I'm the Easter bunny!" Mr. Whiskers shouted. "Can't you see?" Over his head, he held a giant basket with chocolate eggs wrapped in gold. I think there's more than one there. Today, well, there are prizes for everyone, Seth announced. And the children, they all cheered. Even the youngest was given a great golden prize to take home. "This was the best Easter egg hunt ever," one of the children shouted to Seth as they waved goodbye. Seth beamed. "Well, see you next year," he called. "Next year? Did you hear that?" Mr. Whiskers wheeled around and grinned at Grandmother. "Seth is here to stay." He started to hop back to dress for Grandmother's dinner, but then he stopped. Maggie was telling Seth what they would be having for their Easter feast. "Oh, there's going to be roast lamb, new potatoes, mint jelly, and cranberry cobbler," she said. "Hooray!" shouted Mr. Whiskers. "Oh, no, that's just for us," said Grandmother, winking at Seth. "For you, there's a bunch of carrots back at the rabbit hutch." Mr. Whiskers began to smile. You couldn't fool him. There would always be a place at Grandmother's table for him on the holidays. And a place for Seth, too. He knew friends always take care of one another. That's the way it is in Cranberry Port, on holidays and the whole year round. And there's the recipe for Grandmother's cranberry cobbler. Now, boys and girls, one reason why I like this story is because it kind of reminds me of our home. You know, here in Orange City, Alton, Morris, wherever you're from. The small towns, it just seems like people look after one another. And they know if somebody's in need, they're there to help them. And myself and my wife, we've been invited to other people's homes for holiday dinners when we couldn't make it back to our own family for Christmas or Thanksgiving. And we really appreciated that when people would invite us to come over. That's just the way it is in small towns, and especially here in Iowa. We all take care of each other. Hope you had a happy Easter. Bye.